Well, good afternoon. It's Saturday afternoon. You can tell by the echoing that I'm inside the cab on the 2021, and I want to thank y'all for coming in on a Saturday. It's getting kind of chilly, Got my toboggan hat on under the ETR hard hat, and I want to talk to you about a couple things. We're going to get some work done. But before I tell you what I'm going to work on first, I want to tell you, top of my heart are the people from Arkansas and Kentucky. If you're a praying person, pray for them and their families. Right now, the death toll could be as much as 70, and that's just so sad. So do what you think's appropriate there. Well, the first thing I'm going to do today is recommended by one of the ETR Nation members, and he suggested cleaning up the cab in here. And I got to admit, I went on to other things. I didn't clean up the cab as soon as I should have. So I'm going to do a little bit of that today before we get started on the mechanical part. This was used at a grain terminal, so it just had dust and some stuff like that in it that we're going to deal with. And then we'll go on today's mechanical part of the class. The tools I'm going to be using to clean up the cab in here today are 3 brooms. This little short red broom, I couldn't find my whisk broom, so that'll do. This broom right here in the middle, this is actually a railroad tool. This is called a switch broom, and it is very stiff bristled, very sturdy for sweeping out between switches, snow. You can move ballast with it. And on this end, it's got a scraper chisel point, which you can use to break up things and get them out of a switch. I just like those. They're easy to use. They're real firm. They'll work back in there where something might be a little bit damp and impacted. This yellow broom right here, that broom I just snuck off Mrs. ETR's back porch. I took it around the side of the house so she wouldn't see me putting it on the truck, because she says that anything that I take, if it comes back, that's if it comes back, is dirty, greasy, or broken. And you know what? I can't deny that. So that broom right there this may be its last day. Maybe I'll break the handle and ruin the bristles. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to get to work. Talk to you here in a minute. All that chipped paint, that's going to have to come off next spring. Really what I need is a shop vac. But this is a good start. Good Saturday afternoon thing to do. Mrs. ETR is baking Christmas cookies, and I got a little bit of time to spend, so this will be better. Thank you for you guys that encouraged me to do this. Got belts up here, all kind of stuff. Thanks, Mrs. ETR, for your contribution to today's accomplishment. Oh, that's much better. Okay, that's so much better. Let's get class started. I want you to know I'm just a facilitator of this discussion. Each time I bring up a topic, there are so many of you that have got great things to say. Some of you, I read your comment and go, he could be teaching the class easily, because in each area there are some of you that know way more than I do. So I'm just a facilitator. Speaking of how many of you there are, we're almost at 20,000 subscribers, which is amazing to me. I don't think we'll hit it by the end of the year, but possibly. I am drinking coffee today out of an East Terminal Railway travel mug, and the coffee's still hot. This is kind of a cool mug. It'll fit down in cup holders. You can't break it. You can lose it. The other item we've got is, this is pretty cool. We've got the new t-shirt. This is the East Terminal Railway first anniversary shirt. The long shot, short line. These are available this weekend, hopefully in time if you wanted to buy it for someone else that you love. Or maybe you love yourself and you want to buy it for yourself. That's okay. I think a shrink would tell you that's healthy. These are available at railroadmerch.com, both these items. The sleeper on that website is the hoodie. The hoodie is in the middle $20, which is really good value. So if you want, buy those. Now let me say two things. I don't want any kids going without shoes because you bought an item. Please don't do that. So I really appreciate it. And we don't do Patreon, and when we put out the route map, you're not going to have to pay for that. I like to do everything for those who maybe budget is tight. If you have a little money and you want some of this stuff, that's cool. I do want to mention that we do have a new member on the safety committee. Felicia stepped up and is now serving on the safety committee. Thank you, Felicia. Something else I wanted to talk about. When we did the little video on compromise bars, I put up on our blog an article about comp bars, and I couldn't tell. I may have had it so that nobody could comment, or I didn't make it clear. If you're interested in comp bars or track structure, would you do me a favor? Go to that article and comment. Just say, good article, bad article, I read it, whatever you want to say. It's at eastterminalrailway.com in the blog section under comp bar. Something you could do for me, if you like the style that was written in, say I like this article, I didn't like this article. You can offend me, but it's hard to do. So say whatever you want to say. Well, let's get started. I do have the cab a little bit cleaner. I didn't mean to disrespect the 2021 or the community. I just got busy doing other stuff. So on today's list of stuff is, today we're going to talk about throttle adjustment. Now when we did this last week, I liked the result, but somebody's comment was they were surprised I was pulling the pin out each time that I made an adjustment. Well, that brings up the question, and I don't know the answer yet. We're going to look here in a minute. Is it a turnbuckle or was it just a linkage? Now let me tell you what I mean by turnbuckle or linkage. On the end of the linkage we had was a clevis. This clevis is threaded. Here's what it would look like if it were on something that is threaded with a jam nut. You can turn this, shorten the distance between the two ends. But is it still a turnbuckle if the threads are the same on both ends? I was pulling the pin and rotating the clevis. He wondered why I wasn't leaving the pin in and turning the center section. Well, that is commonly called a turnbuckle. The best example of it is a ratchet binder. This has got opposite threads on either end, so that when you turn the middle, you're lengthening or shortening the distance between the hooks. You've seen us use these on derailments where brute force can bring the rails together by the use of this turnbuckle. Here's another turnbuckle. This is a fairly big guy. These sometimes are used in buildings. Like if you have a metal building and you've got X bracing, you might have a turnbuckle in there. They're used to hold generators down on railroad cars, all kind of usages. But for this to be, in my opinion, a truly functioning turnbuckle, it's got opposite threads on either end. So once it's assembled, you can turn this and shorten or lengthen the linkage. And I still don't know what's in there. We're going to look together in a minute and answer that question. I did bring a couple different kinds of clevises that were just laying around, all different varieties. And you can have these in left hand and right hand, so that you could put them on the end of a rod that was threaded different hand. All thread is common in a clevis. This is fine thread, all thread. If you put a clevis on each end of this and you wanted to adjust it, you would have to pull the pin and turn the clevis, because turning the center would just move the rod in and out of the clevises without changing the end length. You follow me on that? It's got to be opposite threaded on each end. This is all thread. That's a piece of all thread that was at one time used in a linkage. Here's another example of all thread. You can see available in any size. I've got some that's about 1.5 inches that we use on brake rigging sometimes. So the question is, when we open the cabinet there and look on the ends of the rod, is it threaded opposite on each end? Well, the other type of clevis is used in rigging, lifting, crane work. Many of you might use these hooking a trailer up to your pickup truck. This is a fairly big one. This is rated at 35 ton. And of course they go on down to just rated in several pounds. But this also is a clevis for rigging. Now here's the pin out of a fairly big clevis. This is a 75 ton clevis. And this isn't our biggest. For reference sake, here's my hand. We've got a 200 ton clevis. And that I couldn't probably carry around. We use a fork truck on that. So those are types of clevises, but not the type of clevis we're talking about today. Now, not everything that is in a U shape and attaches is a clevis. I would call this a cable clamp. This is what you use to attach two pieces of cable and secure them. I could have found a spot on our crane here to show you that, possibly. But when you have to join two ends of cable and tighten it down, that's what you use right there, a cable clamp. That is not a clevis. So here we go. This is video at its finest. Are these threaded opposite on each end? And I'll tell you how we're going to figure that out real fast. This is a 9/16 jam nut. If we loosen that one, and it's the thread that we're all used to, it's going to be lefty-loosey. We're going to come down and look at that one and see if there's the same. Stand by, I'll get a wrench. Okay, I've got a 9/16 wrench. This is the clevis that we took off the other day, or I should say we adjusted there. So we're going to see, sure enough, that's right-handed thread because the nut is getting loose as we go left. Let's see what happens on this end. I know you've each got an opinion, and what are we learning? We're learning that this is the same thread on both ends. So it would not have done any good to do this. This is not changing the length. And we're going to check that here in just a minute. Let me pull the pin out. There, the nut is getting closer to the clevis on this end and further on this end. We're just threading that rod right through there. So that's essentially like a piece of all thread with the same threads on both ends. So there's the answer to why did I pull the pin and adjust just one end, because it wouldn't have done any good to have turned this. Not a true turnbuckle, as in a ratchet binder. So the throttle linkage isn't a true turnbuckle, as in a ratchet chain binder, where it gets shorter as you move the middle. This does not get any shorter as you move the middle. You're just moving the thread through the two clevises. Okay, the next question was on the brake handle, and somebody inquired, could we just take the gear off of the shaft for welding? And he said that maybe there's a set screw. Well, I wasn't here when I was reading that, and I thought, you know what? I don't know. We'll have to go look. So that's what we're doing here now. We're looking, and sure enough, there is a bolt that goes through there. So let's get down there and look and see. Yes, there is a bolt going through the gear. So that's what holds it on the shaft. But my problem is you have to pull the whole shaft out of the locomotive to get the gear off of the shaft. So why not just leave it together? So I'm going to work here for a minute. If you'll hold the camera, we'll see if we can get this whole brake shaft out of here. And the reason is, for those of you that are just tuning in, what we want to do is weld this tooth back on here. So if things go the way I want them to go, this week we'll put up the video of me welding this tooth back on. I'm going to have to make it out of weld and build it up and grind it. So let's see if we can get this whole shaft up out of the locomotive. That means we're going to have to go outside and undo the chain that goes to the air brake cylinder. We will have it chalked adequately. I'm going to get to work. Hold the camera if you would. Thank you. Oh yeah, I like that. That almost feels like somebody's had that off there lately. I was really worried about that. I was afraid they'd break. I do have a ratchet. In fact, I've got the DeWalt electric impact with me too. This might work out. Man, I love it when stuff goes better than you thought it would. I figured these bolts might break, or there's one out already, and I got more. It'd take me longer to go get the impact than it will just to run these out. So I'm going to keep going like this. Are you ready for Christmas? Oh, I am not. It sneaks up on me every year. It's just kind of not anything I want. I don't know what to ask for. I really don't enjoy shopping. I enjoy the holiday, probably my favorite holiday, but the shopping, no. I think I might be allergic to shopping. When I go in a store, I get short of breath and kind of have a little panic attack. Woo! Okay, the locomotive wheels are chalked, so we're going to go ahead and knock the brake off. Take out the last bolt. We'll see if we can get this welded up and fully functioning again. Ooh. Okay. So the question is, do we have to pull out the 4 bolts that go around the base, or will the shaft come up out of it? Oh yeah. Okay, that's good news. That's good news to me. What that tells me, we're going to go down below in the battery box and take the chain off and pull this right out. Good. Good. Okay. Come on with me. Let's go down the battery box, which is where the shaft goes all the way through the floor, through the void, where there's some air brake equipment and stuff, down above the battery box and into the battery box. Let's go see. Okay, we're down here at the battery box. Let me see if I can give you a view, get my flashlight on it. Here's where the shaft, there's where the shaft and the chain come down through the floor. So we're gonna, I think we can reach this more easily from the battery box. Man, I'm gonna have to kneel in the mud. That's terrible. Hang on just a second. So there's where the shaft comes down through the floor. This chain wraps around it, and then there's a U-bolt that holds it. So what we're going to do is take out the chain, the U-bolt, pull this all the way up through the floor, and then take it and weld it. That was crazy. The tripod just blew over and the camera went down in that puddle. It looks like it's working okay. Okay, I got to go back up in the cab and rotate the brake arm. Well, I have got to really hurry. I'm going to pull out that U-bolt right there. That'll drop. Well, that video did not end like I wanted it to. So we're finishing up back here at the shop. Got the ETR safety cone. This always reminds us to be safe and think about what we're doing. Thank you, Peter. We'll put that right here. I did bring back this shaft. What happened was the camera fell backward into water, and I thought I could finish using it, but it quit. I hurriedly put it on the defrost of the truck, trying to warm it up, get water out of the charging port, and finished taking this shaft out by myself. And you would have thought it was comical. It was a lot of work. I had to get a pry bar underneath here. What I learned was this gear barely would pass by the surface where this bolts on. This, of course, rides up here, but the surface where this bolts, the gear wouldn't go by it. I had to find a place where the tooth was missing and rotate it around and then pull the whole shaft out. So in the end, the subscriber that wondered if this gear came off with a set screw, he was actually onto something, because the best way to remove this is take out the bolt, get the gear moving, pull the shaft up, tap the gear off the bottom, and then leave the shaft in the locomotive. This was a lot of work getting it out and hauling it around. Now, since it's off, we'll be able to clean and paint it. We'll check the parts up in there. And I probably still will take this off because it's be easier to weld, easier to work with on the bench. I will also check with my friend Dennis Lavender at Western Star Locomotive Parts in Newark, Ohio, to see if he's got one. If he does, I might decide to buy the used good one and put it on. Be thinking what you think this might cost. And would you weld this one up, or would you buy the used one? Because hopefully midweek that video will come out. When I left there, I was cold, my camera was ruined, and I thought, this is truly the long shot short line. But I'm glad you're here with me. Thank you so much.